Hey everybody, happy Monday. Welcome back to our movie review week one of really 2.5. We're going to spend just about the entirety of the rest of May working on perfecting the art of writing a great movie review. As I said on Friday's video, it's a lot of fun for students to be able to pick out a movie and write about it with some humor, some snark, some sarcasm. It's kind of taking some of the structure of the argument work we've done this year but making it a little bit more loose, a little bit more fun. So we're going to start that process today. And just like every other day, we're going to begin with our module and our announcements page. So let's click on that. Welcome back. As you see, the movie review work begins today. Today's daily checklist is as follows. You're going to complete 3 things here on May 11th. First, watch the mini lesson video that I'm doing right now on how to use DEEP, which is an acronym, and I'll explain that later, to find the elements of a movie review. And then here's the link to the mini lesson. So I'll put that link that I'm speaking into right now right there for you. It's going to take you probably about 15 minutes. That's an estimate right now as I record this, a little bit longer than a typical one because I'm going to be doing some modeling. Secondly, after you're done watching my video, you're going to choose one of the movie review options here, via link right there, and complete today's assignment. It's a Google Doc titled Deep Movie Review Dive. Get it? Deep dive. Haha. May 11th, based on the review that you chose. Take you about 20 minutes or so. And then lastly, you're going to complete today's exit ticket by Wednesday. So you either have today or tomorrow to do it by posting your movie choice. What movie are you going to watch? And what are you going to write your review on the new discussion board linked here. Those are the 3 things you will accomplish today. And again, the last thing, if you don't quite get to it, you can do it on Tuesday if you don't know what your movie is yet until then. Optional sessions if you guys have questions, and then there's our week at a glance as we go through the first steps of writing a movie review. Let's keep going. Today's teaching point: readers understand what is included in a movie review by examining its most important content. So what's a way to do that? It's this acronym DEEP. DEEP stands for describe, evaluate, entertain, and provide context. That will be the basis and the focus of how we analyze movie reviews today. When I'm done with this video, you'll see the mini lesson right there. You will have to view it and then mark it as done on the module. When you have completed that, it's time for your application activity. So what you're going to do is first choose one of the movie review options at this link to read independently. You can see here I've created this chart with, I think there's 8 different options for you. I try to choose movies that are relatively well known, that students your age have probably seen. If not in my class, then they're just very common, famous, well-known, renowned movies. Some of the reviews are positive and some are negative. So it's a mix of the two. They are professional writers, so in a way, these movie reviews can be a little bit complex with the language, the vocabulary, the terms that they use, so read it slowly. You will have to analyze your choice, so don't rush through this or you won't understand it. Make sure you're reading it nice and thoroughly and slowly like we would a mentor text in class. So the first thing, you're going to choose which one of these to do. Then, you will complete today's assignment titled Deep Movie Review Dive 511. Here, you will find the important content of the movie review you chose based on that DEEP acronym. So I want to tell you a little bit about what DEEP is before I do my own Deep Movie Review Dive Google Doc for you and modeled here on this video. So let's take a look at this link. A reminder of the DEEP acronym can be found here. So this is from an old glue-in from years past, but these are the different parts of the DEEP acronym, and this is what you will be analyzing your movie review based on. First is describe. The describe is basically just telling the reader about the movie. Where in the movie review does the writer actually describe what's going on in the film? Whether it's describing the setting, the characters, the scenes, the actors, important lines of dialogue, etc. This is where they're just describing things that happen in the movie. Then there's evaluate. This is the opinion. This is the critical part. It makes them movie critics. This is where they say whether something's good or bad. The director's choices, the dialogue, the acting, the casting, the cinematography, meaning like the camera shots and the scenes. Good or bad? Evaluate. Movie reviews should be entertaining to read. They should be humorous or snarky or sarcastic or tap into empathy and deep connection. So entertaining is an important part of any well-written paper, well-written article, well-written essay, etc. So that's an important element. That's the second E. So you're going to want to entertain, find where professional movie reviewers entertain their readers. And then lastly, provide context. What I mean by that is this is where the writer establishes their credibility. So if they're reviewing a Shakespeare reinterpretation of a Shakespeare play into a movie, they may want to say that they've seen Macbeth, Hamlet, and Romeo and Juliet on screen. That way they establish credibility as a Shakespeare film expert, and so what they say has more credence to it. Those are the 4 elements of DEEP. Now, what are you going to do? So on the assignment on Google Classroom, which you will access to by clicking your core link here, you're going to see this document here. And this is where you will take the movie review you chose and find the different elements of DEEP in that movie review. You're going to find where does the author describe the movie, evaluate the movie, entertain the reader, and provide some context. So your chart will look just like this. Now I'm going to do Call of the Wild, then in italics. I'm going to do Call of the Wild as my modeling today. That's not an option for you. You've got those other 8 options to choose from. So I found a Call of the Wild review, which is a movie that we all saw as a grade, which seems like centuries ago at Fox Bay. But I will be looking at this movie review here. Call of the Wild film review. This is from The Hollywood Reporter, very credible source. You can see the trailer, link to the trailer video there. In the review here. And what I'm going to do is I read it out loud to you, or at least some of it, is I'm going to stop after each paragraph and ask myself, is the writer of this movie review doing any of the 4 parts of DEEP? Are they describing, entertaining, evaluating, or providing context? And if so, I'm going to place that in my chart and just start to compile those different elements, okay? So here we go. Harrison Ford and a CGI-generated dog star in the latest screen adaptation of Jack London's classic 1903 adventure novel. There have been movie adaptations of Jack London's classic 1903 novel, The Call of the Wild, dating as far back as a silent 1923 version. Cinematic treatments continued in the 1930s with an adaptation starring Clark Gable and Loretta Young, and subsequent versions had lead actors that included Charlton Heston and Rutger Hauer. All of these films had at least one thing in common. They starred a real damn dog. Okay, so after this first paragraph, as I said before, I'm going to stop and ask myself, is the author doing any of the 4 parts of DEEP? And here, to me, the author is establishing some credibility to what they have to say. Why? Because they're telling the reader that I have seen all these different versions of Call of the Wild, so I know what's good, and I know what's bad. I've seen the 1923 silent version. I've seen the ones from the 30s. I know the actors. They're an expert on the movie adaptations of this book. And the big difference in the end here being they all actually used a real dog. So what I'm going to do here is go to my chart. I'm going to go down and provide context because that is where the author shows their credibility. I'm going to say author describes seeing all versions of Call of the Wild, even ones from the 1920s, 1930s. Okay? Perfect. That was kind of the main point of that first paragraph and ends with sort of an important line as far as establishing their main point, their main thesis of the review, which the dog was not up to par. Let's keep going. Such, unfortunately, is not the case with the latest version, starring Harrison Ford as the good-hearted prospector John Thornton, who forms a bond during the Yukon Gold Rush with a St. Bernard Scotch Collie canine named Buck. In a blow to animal employment in the acting profession, Buck, who boasts the vast majority of the on-screen time, is played not by one or more actual dogs, but rather Terry Notary, a very human former Cirque du Soleil performer, who delivers a motion capture performance. Such is also the case with the many other dogs and other animals shown, giving this Call of the Wild a similar feel to such recent Disney photorealistic animated films as The Jungle Book and The Lion King. It's not surprising that the film marks the live-action debut of director Chris Sanders, whose previous credits include Lilo and Stitch, How to Train Your Dragon, and The Croods. Paragraph done. So here I've got a couple of things. I see from the first few sentences right here that the author is describing what happens in the movie. It involves a prospector, forms a bond with a dog, Yukon Gold Rush. So right there, describing the plot. So I'd go up to describe and say, author describes prospector forming a bond with a dog named Buck during the Yukon Gold Rush. Important in a movie review to give some description of the plot, but not give away too much either. And then also at the bottom here, there's a little bit of provide context that I noticed as well. Down here, when it talks about the director Chris Sanders, who is known for doing animated films, and maybe that's why he decided to do an animated dog. So, since provide context is some background on the director has a history of animated films, which is why he chose Buck to be animated. At least that's the author's theory. He's familiar with that type of work. Okay? So, let's keep going. Maybe do a couple more paragraphs here. The results are visually disorienting, to say the least. Although Notary and the special effects team do as good of a job as technology allows, the expressive Buck never quite looks real, and you keep expecting him and the rest of the animals to burst into song. So right there we've got a bit of a criticism, don't we? That the dog is visually disorienting and Buck never looks real. So if we're talking criticism, we're talking evaluate, critique, right? Author critiques CGI dog as, quote, visually disorienting, and what else do they say? They say Buck never quite looks real. Sharp criticism. Okay? Good. Keep going. On the other hand, it might have been a reasonable approach, since this version, scripted by Michael Green, takes considerable liberties with the source material and significantly ups the danger and spectacle. The Buck in this film isn't just a fearless, stout-hearted dog. He also engages in a daring underwater rescue in a frozen river and even outruns an avalanche. You guys might remember some of these scenes. Apparently, the creators felt that London's Tale was not exciting enough, although it has been delighting readers for more than a century. So here we've got more criticism. The author is saying here that Jack London's book isn't entertaining enough. It doesn't need to have extra scenes that the director invents built in just to give Buck more adventure. So, extra scenes involving Buck not in the story were completely unnecessary. Take the book at face value. Don't add extra things just for the spectacle and the danger of it. Last paragraph we'll do together. None of this may matter to the young audiences to whom the pick is obviously aimed, but more discerning viewers will wince at how everything has been exaggerated to comic proportions, both intentional and not. In the early scenes depicting Buck's spoiled life in the household of a prosperous family, headed by Judge Miller, Bradley Whitford in little more than a cameo, he wreaks the sort of slapstick havoc that would have caused Beethoven to hang his head in shame. Okay, so right there, Beethoven is a famous dog from a movie series. So not the composer, but the dog here. And that line is supposed to create a chuckle because Beethoven the dog is known for its kind of slapstick. That means like kind of silly humor. And that scene was so silly, even Beethoven would have essentially hung his head in shame and rolled his eyes at it. That's supposed to be kind of a funny, entertaining line to give the review a little bit more of a lighthearted tone. So it's perfect for entertain. Author compares the slapstick humor to Beethoven hanging his head in shame. Even a dog known for its slapstick humor would still think this is lame, is essentially what that's saying. And so I would keep going. I've got a few more paragraphs left and then some credits at the end. And you're going to fill out your chart for your review that you pick, just like I did here. Bullet points are fine. Try to get something for each box. If you don't see and entertain in yours, then skip it. It may not be in every single one. For example, all four of these categories may not be in every single review, but do your best to be as thorough as you can with this. Okay? So this document you'll have access to both on the Canvas module and on my Google Classroom post. You can see the links here to all the different reviews. You're going to choose one and do the exact same thing with your deep movie review dive that I did. And you'll find all that here by clicking on your class page. All right. Then the last thing is the exit ticket. Today's exit ticket is posting your movie choice on the class discussion board located here. It'll take you here. You simply have to reply with the title of the movie you're going to watch or review, 1 or 2 sentences on why you chose it, and if you want to, you can recommend someone in class to watch it with you. It's okay if more than 1 people watch the same film. In fact, in years past, when we were all together as a class, we'd all review the same movie as a class and talk about it. So it's okay if you have a friend in class, for example, and you want to watch the same movie. Perfectly okay. So please pick that by the end of the day Tuesday, because Wednesday you're going to want to use that flex day to watch the majority of this movie. And then we will, as we move forward into the rest of the week and into next week, start to craft a genius, profound, moving movie review for all of your readers, i.e. me, and maybe some of your classmates if you want to share with them, using some of the acronyms and some of the process that we talk about throughout the week, such as DEEP. Hope everything's okay with you guys back at home. I am around all day for questions. If you'd like, reach out to me on my email account or through the Hangout sessions and the times I have posted for your core. Okay, we'll talk soon. Thanks, everybody.